Buenos dias, good morning. First, I would like to salute the great presidium introducing me. Mr. Stephen Keppel, Public Foundation's President, Mr. Sergio Fernandez de Cordova, Chairman of Public Foundation, and in addition to that, I would like to salute here Mrs. Marta Delgado, Under Secretary of State for International Organizations and Human Rights of the Secretary of State of the Mexican government. I also want to thank everyone who is attending this forum to share experiences and knowledge, to wave networks of cooperation that can help us to overcome what is recognized as one of the biggest threats for humanity. I talk about climate change. For the United Nations Development Program in Mexico, and for me personally, it is a great pleasure to be part of this forum and to be able to share with you some of the challenges and opportunities that the climatic crisis has brought to us. Also, to show how UNDP is working to make the most out of this crisis and create opportunities to drive positive change that will enable us to meet national and international development goals, such as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. On climate change, I would like to say that recently our Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, mentioned that the climate crisis is intensifying. We are on the verge of an abyss. According to the sixth report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the global surface temperature has increased by 1.09 degrees from the pre-industrial era. Scientists also agree that this increase is causing, among other negative effects, extreme weather conditions, changes on precipitation patterns, more frequent and intense hydrometeorological events, melting of glaciers, changes in ocean salinity and acidification, and increase of sea levels. This is not rhetorical. We are seeing it in all parts of the world. But we all have heard about it and know that all these atmospheric and ocean changes pose diverse menaces to the integrity of our ecosystems and biodiversity, which in turn directly affect the way we live. As we have witnessed through the last year, and this phenomenon affects people's health by enhancing the presence of diseases and plagues, or by increasing food insecurity and starvation. It can disrupt people's livelihoods and economic activities, such as agriculture, fishery, and livestock. Its negative effects can also endanger the provision of water for living and economic growth. Moreover, climate change also affects infrastructure and settlements. But the social effects of climate change are the ones that affect us as society, countries or regions. These negative effects increase inequalities, cause temporal of permanent migration or displacement, and can trigger social conflicts. The most recent Human Development Report, The Next Frontier, Human Development and the Anthropocene, introduces an experimental new lens on its annual Human Development Index. It adjusts the Human Development Index, which measures a nation's health, education, and standards of living, to include two more elements: a country's carbon dioxide emissions and its material footprint. The index shows how the global development landscape would change if both the well-being of people and the planet were essential to defining humanity's progress. With the resulting planetary pressures adjusted with these new two elements of the Human Development Index, a new global picture emerges, painting a less rosy but clearer assessment on human progress. For example, more than 50 countries drop out of the very high Human Development Group, reflecting their dependence on fossil fuels and material footprint. The next frontier for human development, states the report, will require working with and not against nature, while transforming social norms, values, and government financial incentive. Regarding Mexico and Latin America, I would like to point out that this part of the continent and the Caribbean are considered worldwide as the other most unequal region in the world. And it faces differentiated vulnerabilities towards climate change. Although it possesses natural richness and countries like Mexico, among others, are considered mega-diverse, their geographical and physical characteristics, along with their socio-demographic and economic conditions, determine how the country reacts and adapts to climate change. Moreover, the recent pandemic COVID-19 crisis has worsened the situation. Inequality and unemployment have scaled up, and poverty and extreme poverty have reached its highest levels in the last 12 and 20 years respectively, making it even more vulnerable to climate change compared to other regions of the world. Climate change policies are also worth being mentioned here. Mexico has recognized the vulnerability of its territory, its biodiversity, its people, and its economy to climate change. Last year, the country reformulated its NDCs, and now they are directly linked to the 2030 agenda. This shows the country's commitment not only to achieve the SDGs, but also to acknowledge that healthy ecosystems are vital for providing services to communities, which become the base for economic development and well-being. UNDP Mexico has contributed to help the government to mainstream the importance of biodiversity and ecosystem services for reducing disasters risk, for ecosystem-based adaptation, and for sustainable development. Regarding challenges and opportunities, as the Human Development Report states, although Mexico has taken big steps regarding climate change policies, there is still a long way to achieve their goals, and within the region to face the challenges to achieve the climate change agenda. And some of those challenges are not only to communicate the importance of the climate crisis, but to be part of it. It belongs to all, not only to the environmental or scientific sector. Secondly, to create a safe space to cooperate. Develop a space like this forum where different social sectors and stakeholders can share and establish mechanisms to cooperate, diagnose, design, implement, monitor, and evaluate policies, but also to share mechanisms to finance and create sustainable policies. Thirdly, share and develop new knowledge and scientific research lacking in Latin America, to help countries to make better decisions and to create a common floor to work on this matter. Therefore, it is urgent to mainstream climate change and adaptation so that every policy, no matter what sector, not only acknowledges its linkages to climate change, but it also contributes to mitigate its effects and enhance adaptation. For that purpose, we need to make sure that all sectors understand the impacts that climate change is causing, to redefine its practices and visions. Contribute to link stakeholders that normally do not communicate to each other to build a common understanding and interest that can add to develop, implement or finance climate policies and strategies that help promote to protect the environment. Also, we need to transform the way we relate to nature, how to produce and what take from the environment, what is the trade-off of development. Nature-based solutions are one of the best ways to contribute to climate change. Mitigations are also to be pointed out. Innovative mechanisms to preserve and enhance carbon sinks will promote mitigation while contributing to economic development of local and indigenous communities. We also need to promote exchange of knowledge and lessons learned regarding innovative and development strategies, financial mechanisms, and governance systems. This should include local and indigenous perspectives, since these groups understand the territory. Furthermore, the Global North can contribute with knowledge, technology, social and financial capital so that the Global South carries out its development in a more sustainable way. Strengthening communities and governance mechanisms to promote nature protections, sustainable development and equality in the face of climate change is also to be considered. Learn from local and indigenous communities, develop solutions together to ensure that such solutions will function is also adamant. Finally, to deal with climate change, we need empathy. We need to understand that Latin America will face bigger challenges than the ones it already faces. We must work towards a new social pact that acts for the people's well-being, also to safeguard our ecosystems and their natural and cultural wealth. I hope that this forum will achieve its objectives and that we all leave with new ideas and opportunities to help Latin America and the Caribbean to face the climate crisis. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope we have the opportunity to work along in this forum and many others to come. Thank you very much.